Chief Minister Sri Revanth Reddy, Deputy Chief Minister Kumar Garu, all the dignitaries on the stage, and all my friends. I'm delighted to be here, part of the Telangana Rising celebrations in this future Bharat city. It's an occasion to set goals for the next 2 decades and position Telangana as the #1 state in the country, a very lofty ideal. I'm privileged to have served in the combined state of Andhra Pradesh much before all these people rose to political stardom. I have very fond memories. I worked in parts of Telangana. I was Collector Khammam when our Deputy Chief Minister must have been in school, and then I was Finance Secretary of the combined state. Although the state is administratively and politically divided, I feel emotionally at home in both Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. And Hyderabad is my home now, Telangana is my state now, but I belong to the entire combined Andhra Pradesh. Over the last 10 years, Telangana has clocked remarkable progress. A state once known for feudalism, poverty, backwardness, ignorance, is today possibly the #1 state, clocking possibly the highest growth rate in the country over the last 10 years. Hyderabad, this charming, beautiful city, is a jewel. You know, all around the country, and many of these people have traveled around the world, around the country. I'm very proud of this city. If there's one Indian city that is representative of all of India, it is Hyderabad. Cosmopolitan in outlook, blend of tradition and the best of traditions and values and modernity, safe for everyone, the best example of unity in diversity. You know, at one time when I was in the government, sir, in the late 90s, early 20s, we used to look for the overflow from Bangalore. So Bangalore is the icon of India, and Bangalore is saturated, so the overflow will come to Hyderabad. Today, Hyderabad is iconic. It's Hyderabad that people look up to as the first choice. So I'm very proud of what the government of Telangana has attempted. Congratulations to you, sir, and to your entire government. This document, I've not seen it, it's going to be released later in this event, is prepared by the government, working closely with the ISP, with Niti Aayog, I believe with wide-ranging consultations with the stakeholders. And I've not seen the document, but I'm privileged to be part of the advisory committee, and I look forward to studying the document and working with the government on implementing it over the next couple of years. But what I gather, what I heard the Chief Minister say yesterday, is that Viksit Telangana wants to be the #1 state in the country with $1 trillion GSDP by 2034 and $3 trillion by 2047, the centenary of the independence. Today, the GSDP of Telangana is about 16.7 trillion rupees, which roughly translates to $250 billion. We are at $250 billion today. We've got to get to $3 trillion in 22 years, which means multiply the GSDP by 15 times. And if you do simple arithmetic, it means that the state has to grow by about 8 to 9%, perhaps even faster. One trade of lead, that's a tough goal, a challenging goal, difficult, but not impossible. One trait of leadership is actually to set impossible goals, near impossible goals. So I want to congratulate the government for setting that goal. Yesterday, the Chief Minister mentioned that Telangana wants to replicate the Gyeongdong success. Gyeongdong is the best practice in accelerated growth rate. Not perfect, but probably the best practice. I'm sure Telangana will do even better. It's presumptuous on my part to lay out the agenda, because the agenda for getting 24/7 Telangana is large, complex, and that's going to be in the document. It will be presumptuous for me to second guess that at the moment. But I want to make a few points at this stage. The first is the state must build on its core competence. Hyderabad is already known for its IT, its pharma, its biotechnology, services. Where I live in KPHB, there is GCCs coming up every day. So I see them, I experience them. But Telangana must expand into manufacturing, agribusiness, and into a variety of sectors to create jobs. The second is infrastructure. Physical infrastructure, digital infrastructure, and social infrastructure. Before we met you, came on the stage, we were talking to the IT Minister, Sridhar Babu Garu, and he was telling us about how Telangana government has aspirations of making Hyderabad the innovation center, AI innovation center for the country. The country looks up to Hyderabad. So that's the second thing you must be focusing on. The third, ease of doing business. You know, we all talk about it, we all know about it. And I'm sure the Chief Minister and his team are experienced. But when we were in the government 20 years ago, when we went around like these people are going around these days, canvassing for investment, you know what entrepreneurs like Sri Anand Mahindra tell chief ministers and ministers? If you want to give us tax concessions, it's okay. If you want to give us utilities at low cost, that's okay. But what we want more than all this is law and order, rule of law, and no interference from your people. So ease of doing business is something that you must be concentrating on. Chief Minister, you said yesterday that you're not competing with the rest of the country, you're competing with globally. You know, actually, I think as the Deputy Chief Minister of Karnataka said yesterday, competing within the country is actually good. Healthy competition among states is good, and you're competing globally, setting yourself an aspiration. Primary education and primary health, I'm sure it's part of the agenda. Politicians don't normally, pardon me for saying this, I'm being a bit blunt, but politicians don't normally concentrate on education and health. The reason is, I'm not blaming anyone, but the reason is, democratic compulsions force politicians to have a short-term horizon. Do things that will yield results in the short term. No, they tend to relegate long-term things, because they're things that will generate results much later, because they're not political priority. But they're very, very important, as you must have noticed. You know, Karl-Johan Juncker, who was the former Chancellor of the EU, he said, we all know what is the right thing to do. He was a politician. No? He said, we know what's the right thing to do. We don't know how to get re-elected after that. I'm sure that Chief Minister Revanth Reddy and his team are going to find a new model and prove Karl Juncker wrong, that it is possible to do things and get re-elected. Okay? And then I saw in the papers, in the media, pure, rare, inclusive growth. I cannot emphasize this enough. You know, accelerating growth is important. Growth is necessary, but not sufficient. 8%, 9% growth, if it's just a number, if the benefits of growth are not widely shared, that growth cannot be sustained. So you must have inclusive growth, which means that the benefits of growth must go to the poorest person in Telangana, to the most farthest point in Telangana. I'm sure the vision document is going to concentrate on that. And skills, of course, it will be presumptuous on my part to talk about skills when Mr. Anand Mahindra is here, but skilling is very important. You know, skilling is a difficult thing to do because it will not be done by the private sector. The government will not do it, is incapable of doing it. So you need public-private partnership, which we're seeing on the stage. Mr. Mahindra sitting next to the Chief Minister, that's exactly the partnership we require for skilling. And, you know, I want to tell a story. When I was appointed governor in 2008, 17 years ago, I was Finance Secretary to Government of India at that time. I went to call on the Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, just to thank him for choosing me to go to RBI. One-on-one meeting, I went across to his office with just two of us. And I told him, sir, thank you for appointing me as governor. We talked about the macroeconomic issues at that time. We talked about RBI. We talked about the government. We talked about the comparison between living in Mumbai and living in Delhi. And after about 10 minutes into this conversation, I asked Dr. Manmohan Singh, sir, do you have any advice to give me? A very humble person. He said, what advice do I give you, Subbarao? You've been in the IAS, you've seen the country, you've worked in the districts, you've seen the state government, you've seen the central government. What advice do I give you? And after another couple of minutes, I took leave of him and I was walking away. And, gracious man as he was, he walked around from his table and escorted me to the door. And at the doorstop, he put his hand on my shoulder. Subba, I thought I'll give you one advice. That one advice I want to give you is that no matter what you're doing, remember that whatever you're doing, there's people behind you. The RBI is a great institution. But in the RBI, there's a risk that you'll get lost in numbers, in interest rate, money supply, inflation, exchange rate, but you will forget that there are real people behind that. Now, I was in the process of shifting from Delhi to Mumbai. About 30 seconds after I left the PM's office, that advice went out of my head. But as I started working in the RBI, that the purport of the Prime Minister's advice struck me. Because the primary responsibility of the Reserve Bank is to maintain price stability, low and steady inflation. Inflation is a regressive tax. Growing up in a low middle class family, I saw my parents struggle to put all of us through, and all of you saw this. So what the Prime Minister was telling me really is that whatever you're doing, remember the last people, because inflation hurts poor people more than it hurts well-off people. This shirt, if it cost 2,000 rupees last month, and if I go to buy this today, it costs 2,200 rupees, I wouldn't even notice it. But poor people, if the bus ticket goes up from 22 to 24 rupees, if the price of rice goes from 40 to 44 rupees, they notice that. So one thing as we implement the Telangana Rising document is to remember the people of Telangana. The last thing, I've spoken for longer than my time, but Chief Minister, sir, you said yesterday and you said today that Telangana is unstoppable. I also want to say that Telangana is unbeatable, okay? And John F. Kennedy said that, he gave a goal, moonshot goal, that we must get onto the moon, not because it is easy, but because it's difficult. So the Telangana Rising document, implementing that is not because it's easy, but it's going to be difficult. And 10 years from now, somewhere in the world, 10 years from now, sir, somewhere in the world, just like you said yesterday, Gyeongdong model, 10 years from now, somewhere in the world, somebody will say, we want to follow the Telangana model. So thank you very much.